I want to read to you today from Will Gompert's book, What Are You Looking At? And this time I want to read the very first chapter, which is called The Fountain, 1917. And it begins Monday, April 2nd, 1917. In Washington, the American president, Woodrow Wilson, is urging Congress to make a formal declaration of war on Germany. So this is during World War I, which is already getting underway in Europe and is already affecting people in Europe. And our setting is in New York City. And he says, three well-dressed youngish men leave a smart duplex apartment at 33 West 67th Street and head out into the city. And he tracks their walking around through the city. And then they arrive at the premises of J.L. Mott Ironworks, a plumbing specialist. And he says, inside, Ahrensburg and Stella, who are Duchamp's companions, stifle giggles while their companion ferrets around among the bathrooms and door handles that are on display. After a few minutes, he calls the store assistant over and points to an unexceptional, flat-backed white porcelain urinal. Joined again by his friends, the group is informed by a wary store assistant that the model of urinal in question is a Bedfordshire. The Frenchman nods, Stella smirks, and Ahrensburg says, I'll buy it. They leave. Ahrensburg and Stella go to call a cab. Their quiet, philosophical French friend stands on the sidewalk holding the heavy urinal, amused by the plan he has hatched for this porcelain pissotiere to use it as a prank to upset the stuffy art world. Looking down at its shiny white surface, Marcel Duchamp smiles to himself. He thinks it may cause a bit of a stir. After buying the urinal, Duchamp takes it to his studio. He lays the heavy porcelain object on its back and turns it around so it appears to be upside down. He then signs and dates it in black paint on the left-hand side of the outer rim with the pseudonym R. Mutt, 1917. His work is nearly done. There is only one more job remaining. He needs to name the sculpture. He chooses Fountain. What had been, just a few hours before, a nondescript, ubiquitous urinal has, by dint of Duchamp's actions, become a work of art. At least in his mind. He believed he had invented a new form of sculpture, one where the artist could select any pre-existing mass-produced object with no obvious aesthetic merit, and by freeing it from its functional purpose, that is, by making it useless, and by giving it a name and changing the context and the angle from which it would normally be seen, turn it into a de facto artwork. He called this new art form a ready-made, a sculpture that was already made. It was an idea he'd been working on for a few years, starting when he had attached a bicycle wheel and its front forks to a stool in his studio when he was still in France. At the time, the construction had been for his own amusement. He liked to turn the wheel and see it spin. But subsequently, he'd begun to see it as an artwork. All right, and so we'll stop there. Think about that for a minute. Think about the idea of mass-produced objects. They were fairly new to the world at this point, and you want to consider they're common to us now, but at the time they were probably a little bit political. Okay, thanks.